Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Long Bangers Thursday phone in. I'm Matty hosting as always. We've got a busy show tonight, plenty of faces on, some new faces today. Hello, Stephen. See you managed to jump on. Good to see you.
All right, how you doing, boys?
Good. Thanks for joining us. So we've literally just got kicked off here. So, John, you were first on tonight. Where do you want to start with? I suppose probably the best start with the derby. What was your take on all of that?
I think the short take was a game with little quality. We created the best chances, and it should really be going down in history as the Dwight Gale derby. I think that had he taken his chances, then that's what it'd have been. It's as simple as that. Not a great quality. I've probably felt even worse having watched sort of 91-25's analysis on Monday. I mean, just to show how open we were and how the chances were. But no, the disappointment was not taking the chances. Losing one runner at the front post. I mean, smallest man on the pitch. Nobody really thought it'd be a problem. But from a lot of the end of the game, we were getting balls pummeled into our box that we defended. Ekpiteta, I think, is coming on really well. And I think we're starting to see a few redemption arcs for some players that were had six bus tyres go over them, I mean, in early season. I mean, and seemed to be much better than we actually thought they might have been. So, no, I felt pissed off with the late goal, but I thought we battled well. Having played it twice now, I'm not sure I'm convinced that a 4-2-4 formation, though. I think we need more midfielders in there.
So we gave up a lot of territory, didn't we? I think Colin made the point on the Long Bangers podcast on Sunday night, just after the game, was that Hibs looked like we were kind of quite happy just to let Hearts have the ball because they weren't really going to do anything with it. So we gave up a lot of territory. We did create the best chances. Very attacking lineup on the face of it, but I didn't feel like we played particularly attacking, John. Would you agree with that?
I think that we had a real problem getting the ball through the middle of the pitch. I think the idea that we had effectively three wingers and a striker on meant that we didn't have somebody who was dropping into that sort of attacking midfielder slot. The couple of times where we got the ball switched over quickly and down the wings and got the ball in, it was good. But again, be clinical, take your chances. You know, where we are at the moment, it's all a bit bad luck and things aren't working for us. Players on the pitch had the chances to do something about it. Shankland has one shot from outside the area in the first half, one shot in the second. You kept them relatively quiet. There's no long punts up the pitch that were coming at us. No, I thought we didn't play well, but neither team played well. But I'm just again, it's that convert the chances. We're going to start doing that.
It's funny how no matter how much the personnel change, how much the managers change, and the circumstances change, the Edinburgh derby always manages to be shite as a spectacle.
Well, it's that whole idea where it's too much blood and guts, and neither midfield had a decent ball player, for want of a better word. I mean, everybody was at a rumble. I watched Quan for a wee bit, and he was good at taking up positions, but not necessarily taking the ball. I mean, and I was surprised at how much plaudits he was getting. I felt that he was ineffective in the game. I don't think he was a hiding scenario, no, but we had a defensive mid and Quan and nothing taking it forward. If it went out to Abita or it went out to Miller, there was a chance of it going forward. But again, Miller, it was one of those games where he frustrated us by getting there and from the east, the ball through to Hoylett. I mean, when he was out and just need to give it Hoylett to have him right in on top of the centre backs, and he played out the pitch. But that's a problem. I think there's players who are not dealing with the pressure of the position particularly well, and we don't have a squad that allows them to be moved out. There's no other right back. We've got two young right backs who are quite rightly on loan at other clubs to get game time, and the option at right back is injured.
Aye, the kid is. It's one of these situations. I think somebody had asked us. I can't remember if they'd messaged me directly or if it was on Twitter or whatever about the right back situation, saying like in hindsight, should we have let the young boys go out on loan? And I think my answer to that was, well, yes, because had Karen not got injured and Miller was, in decent form, then you've got two young right backs sitting kicking their heels, not getting a sniff of anything, and it's not really fair on them to kind of hold them back just in case. I mean, you're unlucky when you've got one or two right backs unavailable or not in the best form. Ideally, you'd have a squad of 60 where everybody's quite happy to sit and getting a shot, and you can just swap them in and out as you like. But the reality is, you can't do that. You need a smaller squad, and you can't just keep everybody there. I'm going to bring Jeff in. Jeff, what was your take on the derby?
Right, I'm off mute. Can you hear me? I've just changed microphone.
I hear you. Yeah.
That's good.
And see you with Space Dog behind you.
What? Sorry.
I said we could hear you and see you with the Space Dog behind you.
Oh, flash, yeah. Very similar to what John said. I thought, when I saw the lineup, I thought it's very attacking. But in reality, as John said, we're quite happy for them to have the ball. I was thinking it was like rope-a-dope, let them come on to us and then just, hit them on the counter, which is kind of what we did without looking really sharp. The chances that Gale had, as everybody said, you expect him to score at least one of those, if not two. It was just, it's always disappointing when you lose in a 1-1 draw. You're the one that loses the second goal. As you said in one of the podcasts, it depends how we draw. And if they'd scored that goal in the first 10 minutes and we equalised in the last 10, would it have been the same furore about, Miller, Bursic, combination leading up to the goal? I don't know. Yeah, I was, like everybody, gutted, because I knew what social media was going to be like. The usual suspects. And we're all disappointed. We can all see faults in the team. Miller had one of his poorest second halves for a while, and I'm a big defender of him, but I can call him out when he has a bad game. But it doesn't mean he's a bad player.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's a class player, but form is temporary. We've got short memories when he was schooling Duke up in Aberdeen one game. Duke never got a sniff. One of the fastest players they had, and he played him really well. So anyway, yeah, as regards to Derby, disappointed. It's just when the subs came on, I just felt that David Gray thought, we'll hold what we have. We can't, apart from last night, hold what we've got. And maybe just go for it a bit more, instead of trying to hold on to 1-goal lead. I don't know. If he does that and we lose a goal, he gets slaughtered either way. But we certainly invited them onto us a lot more, and they put the extra attacker on and threw men forward. There is always going to be that pressure, especially in a derby.
I suppose you just kind of hope that you can ride out. Just a wee go for a tangent. You mentioned Duke there. My son was away at Benfica last week. Because he came back in the morning of the derby, with doing his the A license, and at the Benfica academy they had like old team sheets up, and he saw one, and our very own Jair was playing right wing, and he had forced Duke onto the bench, so Duke was not getting in. Ahead of Jair, remember when we signed him and Lee Johnson was talking about folk asking how we got him, and there was like this. There might actually have been something in that it wasn't necessarily that we signed the wrong one. He was, but it looks like he was keeping Duke out of that team. Jeff, what did you think of the reaction to the derby? And it's like it's good you mentioned that would we feel different had we been the team that scored second. Actually, rather than talk about the reaction to it, I'll ask you about Miko's goal, because we lost the goal, that's what everybody focus on. You forget about the good thing that we did in the game, which was a proper poacher's goal from Miko. What do you think of that?
Yeah, really glad for him. We needed a goal like that. That's 2 goals in 2 out of the 3 goals we scored prior to last night. Miller was the one that headed it, either first or second ball, or first ball, and then second or third ball was the goal. So let's not forget his contribution in the penalty box at the other end. Miko, good Porteous goal. The type of goal I thought Dwight Gale, might get, but different chances to what Gale had. Yeah, really, really chuffed for him. You can see what it meant to him as well. Proper. I mean, the whole team. They're obviously still together. It's just the confidence is so fragile. You saw it last night. We're banging shots. We'll talk about last night another time. Anyway,
Yeah, no, that's
really
what
glad for him. Really glad for him.
yeah, I think I'll come to Jack, get Jack's thoughts on the derby, and actually I think what we'll do, Robson, when I come to you next, I'll just open it up and we might kind of just talk about whatever anybody wants to talk about, because we're conscious we've got a busy room tonight, and to get around everybody and cover what people want to cover, we probably can't dwell too much on the games themselves. But Jack, what were your thoughts on the derby?
Yeah, it was a good derby, but it's kind of crazy that we conceded a goal. So no hanging on to that lead is our main problem at the minute.
And what do you think's behind that, Jack?
I don't know. I can't. There's many ways, but I can't really think what would be causing it.
What do you think of the starting lineup? It was quite an
It looked a
attacking
strong
lineup.
attacking lineup, yeah. But then when the way the team started, it looked different.
What do you think of the sort of the front line that we had with Miko playing with Yuan and Boyle on the sides and Hoylett sort of sitting just in behind him?
Yeah, I think it was working with Hoylett, yeah, and Gale was there, so a few good chances for the two of them, but Kukarevich's goal managed to get us ahead.
Yeah, and were you were in behind the goals? You would have got a good view of the goal that was scored.
Aye. I think the place started going bouncing just as it went in.
What did you think of the big tifo display that the Block 7 had put on?
It was good, aye. It's a good way to when the teams were coming out, and then when you see it in person, it looks quite nice as well. White on the top, green on the bottom.
It was a good display.
Yeah.
So you would have been disappointed with the goal that we lost, Jack. What were your feelings at full time?
A bit disappointed, but glad we didn't lose.
Do you think that was more important for Hibs? Not necessarily that we didn't win the game, but the fact that we didn't lose.
I think it was a bit disappointing that we didn't win because we wanted to get off bottom of the table or still rock bottom. But I mean, we need to start winning to get away from that. But
aye, we need to get some wins soon. Thanks, Jack. I'm going to come to Robson. Robson, what did you want to talk about tonight?
No, just in general, I think over the last two games, I think you've gone from Hibs versus Hearts, where I thought Hibs played quite well. You could see what their kind of aim was to get the ball back and counter attack against Hearts, whereas you then played Ross County and you kind of done nothing really attacking wise. And I just think, like I said to him earlier before I came on, I said that it got to half time. I was that bored, which I don't normally do. I've turned it off and watched the Aberdeen game because that's just it's more interesting. There's Rangers against Aberdeen. Obviously, it's going to be a bigger game because Aberdeen are having such a good season. But I just think a lot of fans are now starting to lose interest because we're so poor. The players don't look interested. You got players who aren't good enough, i.e., the goalkeeper, who on Sunday could have cost us so many goals. The amount of times he's flapped for the ball. But I can't really see any positives or anything changing in the near future because we just look absolutely dreadful defensively. Yes, we were okay yesterday, but when you play against a bigger team, which we're going to come to in the next few weeks anyway, after the international break, we are going to struggle. And I can't see where we're going to get the next win from because I can't see us winning at the weekend either, if I'm honest.
Do you think the problem is at the defensive end of the pitch, Robson, or is there a bigger problem in the fact that when we're scoring? I think somebody said to me that our defensive record is a top 6 defensive record at the moment. I haven't fact checked it, but somebody mentioned that.
I think it's a bit of both. I think scoring goals is a big issue, but we're also conceding far too many goals late on in the game, which is costing us so many points.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at a Dundee United game, it's plays in silly moments that cost us points, and i.e. it was obviously Miller on Sunday as well, which has cost us points with just switching off, which has caused them to score. But I think honestly, I went into this season and I thought I didn't think we were obviously going to finish third because there's better teams with better players at the moment, but I wouldn't have guaranteed us to finish be where we are now. I just can't really see where there's going to be any improvement until the changes up top above Gray And even if things don't improve, it'll be great at some point because Hibs can't be near the bottom of the league. It's just not good enough.
Do you think it's a case of getting through to January and then hoping that the board throws some more money at bringing players in?
I wouldn't trust that either because our recruitment's crap. If I'm honest, straight bluntly, it's useless. I think Charlie could probably do a better job on Football Manager. If I'm honest.
So, well, I mean, what does it need then? How do you fix the current situation?
You get rid of the clowns above David Gray, I think, is the only issue. It's going to resolve it because we've gone through the last 2 or 3 seasons and we're going round and round in circles. It's just not working, unfortunately. Something needs to change, and we can't keep changing them. I know the manager's ultimately the first one to go, but we can't keep going around in circles and sacking managers because ultimately it's going to keep costing us a lot of money, and it's not clearly working.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at Aberdeen; they were in a similar situation to us at the end of last season. They've done a proper review, got a proper manager in who with experience, and now look at them; they're flying. Whereas we have supposedly done a review, maybe not sure. Got an inexperienced manager, and we are the complete opposite and pretty much bottom. So, yeah, it's difficult because obviously it's David Gray and what he's done, but it gets to the stage, yes, his legacy is never going to be tarnished anyway. But he knew getting and taking that job, it was a risk, especially how inexperienced he is.
John, you got your hand up.
I think the reset's already been done, Robson. We did it in the summer.
Yeah.
I think the problem that we've got is that we did a reset at least 5 weeks later than we should have done because we held on to the previous manager when it was clear that the board were going to get rid of him. There's criticism at board level because they clearly haven't made the best of the relationship with the Black Knights group in Bournemouth and the other teams in the folio. But we brought in a completely new football structure that reflects what was in place 10 years ago. So we have one person in charge of the football who's trying to sort out everything. We then bring in a manager. We bring in 11 players across the summer. And if we're looking at it now, we're probably turning around saying that Ekpiteta has come in. We would want improvement in terms of the goalie, but we decided that one goalie retired last year and the other one wasn't good enough, having watched him for the season. So we had to bring in 2 new goalies. Signings don't succeed all the time. The problem we've got is that if we are sitting down saying that we have to rip that up again now, we're in real trouble because that's when real failure will kick in.
But would you say
probably
failure's kicking in now already?
No, because I think the problem that you've got is that if you're a player, because ultimately the people we need performing at the moment are the players.
Yeah.
If we turn around and say to the players that we are getting rid of a manager after 9 league games or whatever it is, they won't know which way to turn. The players that were put under the bus in the summer by getting told there's a whole load going out of contract at the end of next year, we can reset then, has bits the shades of what happened under Terry Butcher. I mean, so there is a question in my head in terms of what do the Noah Kennys and everything feel like at East Mains at the moment because of what was said and how it was said over the summer. But in terms of looking at where we are, I think that there's a real problem if we think that just ripping it up and starting again. We did that in the summer. We need to get to the stage where the director of football, in terms of Malcolm Mackay, man who will split the support irrespective of how well he performs. He's had one transfer window. We've got a couple of decent centre backs. I don't think Quan and Triantis were the worst midfielders that we could have brought in. Dwight Gale should have been scoring goals on Sunday. Newell shouldn't be tearing into second challenges against Dundee United when we were coasting. There's a lot of players who have made really stupid mistakes. Abita's penalty at Kilmarnock. But again, he's come back. So there's lots of things going on that just aren't working. And you're right, everybody should be absolutely frustrated and absolutely pissed off with where we are. But we stop and rip up. What should be happening is that Malcolm Mackay's relationship with the rest of the group should be getting nailed in. We should have clear targets for the January window in place now. If they want to extend Miller's take his year update for next year, then do it. If they want another right back, get them in January. Look at the goalie position. I think changes are needed, and what we're getting at the moment isn't good enough. That's not where I'm coming from. But if we've got a coaching team there, I mean, that have taken these players. I think they've got better, but if we need to improve, that's where the Malky Mackay and backroom stuff starts to kick in is from January. And that's when you start to say, is that working? The fact that the board have tried 4 different versions of how it should work under the Gordons. And I mean, I saw a tweet today, somebody saying, really miss Jack Ross. This is the Jack Ross situation. This is you've got a plan in place, you've got something to do, the results don't go for you, and the first thing you do as an owner is you shoot the manager and kick them out the door, and that's your wall. If we get rid of Gray just now and the coaching team, the club is in absolute free fall and failure because the players will switch off because they will see a club that doesn't care and they will be expecting to be emptied at the end of the year. Sorry, that's a bit ranty.
But wouldn't you say the players are already switched off considering we're joint bottom of the league already, and we've had a very bad start to the season?
They're not. Do you know what? Sorry, John. I'm going to take this. See this, right? We're comparing Aberdeen and probably Hearts as well, right? But they clubs have had their act together for years now in terms of recruitment, right? Aberdeen's recruitment team got headhunted by Leeds, another Premiership team who I can't remember. The lad Savage at Hearts, listen, they're finished third twice, fourth for the last 3 years. They got the recruitment. Aye, okay, they've had issues in the dugouts, same as what we have, but our recruitment's been in disarray for years and years and years. And we finally drew a line in the sand in that during the summer there. So now we've got to give that time to bed in, along with the manager as well. We cannot just keep diving in and go in 9 games, this isn't working, we're joint bottom of the league. Mackay had 6 weeks to do what's usually probably a 6-month job, probably even longer as well, after he got his foot in the door. And that was on top of appointing the manager too. So we've got to give this time. You've got to give this time. Because otherwise we're making the same mistakes time and time and time again. And we're going to find ourselves in a much worse position than what we find ourselves right now. Albeit it's shocking because we're second bottom. So keep going as we are and keep doing this merry-go-round. This only gets worse. Much worse.
Stephen, you had your hand up. We'll bring you in.
Cheers, Matty. Yeah, I guess what I really want to say is you don't get time in football, and I think for Davy Gray, it is starting to slowly run out. Although we're not playing Aberdeen in the next game. Our next game will be the 11th game, so technically the first cycle of the 11 matches before top 6 and bottom 6 split. We've got 1 win. Was it 1 win and 4 draws? And if you look at the teams around about us, there is no way Hearts with that depth of squad and quality of squad will stay there much longer. And the teams that are immediately above us, other than St Johnstone, we failed to beat any of them, some of them at home. So I'll be honest, I am really, really worried that we could go down this season. And it just reeks of 2013-14 to me. The club's all over the place. The management structure in 2013 was changed mid-season. It didn't work. Watching the game last night, I was the same as Robson. I didn't turn it over, much to my regret, because there was other games on that I probably would have been more entertained by. I just don't see how we're going to score enough goals in games. We concede schoolboy goals every single weekend. I love Davy Gray to bits, but I just don't see him having the necessary qualities to actually get us out of it. And above Davy Gray, I know Malcolm Mackay didn't have much time before the season really started. They obviously had to appoint a manager as well. But in Leicester's signings similar to Marcondes and Mizian in January, I just don't see how we go up that league. I really, really don't. And other managers like St Johnstone have pushed the button. They've binned, Meadows, Levine, and they've brought folk in. And apparently, I read a few things on Twitter this afternoon that even though St Johnstone, I don't think have won a game under this new guy, apparently they look completely different. So St Mirren won again last night. So I just don't see the teams around about us failing to win as many games as we failed to win. So I am seriously worried about this season. I just wanted to add that in, that I also don't have any answers.
I think it's a worry, the position that we find ourselves in. And I think where my concern comes with, I agree with you, Stephen, is that we seem to be sort of on top in games, but no closing it to win. And then, like even last night, like I thought we were the better team comfortably in that game, but it finished 0-0. And it's a difficult place to go. Like at Ross County, there's good teams struggled there as well. But it's a pattern with us. It's like we did it against Dundee United, we did it against Kilmarnock, we did it against Dundee, we did it against Motherwell. we did it against Hearts, where we created better chances and we didn't come away with the 3 points, and that's not a good habit to get into. Ian, you your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, if we really want to revisit this, then we go back to the start of the season. So I remember saying at the time on the first podcast after Malcolm Mackay was appointed, I was so disappointed at our lack of ambition, because I really thought, as the Black Knights coming in, I thought we were actually going to have a revolution, and we didn't even have an evolution. And once we appointed Malcolm Mackay and dropped that level of ambition, then obviously appointing David Gray, to me, fitted in perfectly, because there was somebody that Malcolm Mackay could oversee. He couldn't bring in somebody more powerful. And Tracy backed David Gray at the time. Now, we're watching David Gray learning. He's making some really daft mistakes in terms of substitutions and stuff like that. But we're watching him learning, and I agree. We have to give him time. We have to buy into this, and I really like the attitude of the Block 7, who are always trying to get us to chant David Gray's name. And last night was the same. So on the derby, I thought my 2-0 prediction was going to come in, as we were completely comfortable at 1-0, and we had far more chances to score than I expected. I was delighted to see Shankland get nothing the whole game. Well, that was great. That shows how well our defence played, because Shankland got nothing the whole game, and really Marvin was terrific against them. But last night I was disappointed on the 2016 bus going up to Dingwall when I saw the lineup changes with Miko and Joe coming back in. So Miko never looks like scoring, and finishing has been our main problem for 3 seasons now, which is why we had to get Simon Murray and failed. But although Dwight Gale missed a few sitters, he's much more accomplished a finisher than Miko, and it's just a pity we didn't know he was injured at the time. Kwon didn't, in my view, deserve to be dropped. I think, well, he was named as man of the match. I thought he did play very well against Hearts, but he was named as man of the match against the Hearts. And Joe's a very good player, but his contribution as captain does not make him a shoo-in. So, but just to have a wee bit of lighter note, I was even more disappointed on the 2016 bus when we were still sitting at Halbeath Park and Ride waiting for a replacement bus for our broken down bus. And it was clear that we'd actually missed the first half hour of the game while we were still sitting at Halbeath. So when I got there, I sat down and asked the guy next to me, and I said, what have I missed? He said, fuck all, we've been shite. So, and so
the disappointment that you didn't miss more of it.
Funnily enough, but the only bright spot in the last 15 minutes was the fantastic save Bursick made, and as you said last night on his extra time, we thought certain goal, everybody did. But it's funny last night. I mean, obviously it's a long trip back, and there was hellish roadworks coming back, but I was more disappointed last night than in any game this season, as we appear to be really toothless and impotent up front. I said on the phone in last week that I saw our biggest problem was actually the attitude of people, Hibs people, on social media. And I think it was, I can't mind who said it last week, but they're no fans, And but I still feel the same. But our finishing last night made me immediately question what people are doing at training. I mean, and I can't. But I mean, as supporters, we're going to have to stop applauding when somebody blasts the ball over the bar. And I think at one point, actually, Nectar actually put the ball over the stand. So I don't know how many touches people got last night, and I don't look at stats, but Miller was actually showing more for the ball than anyone. And of course, he's going to make mistakes, but most of our meaningful pressure came from Miller's initiative. I mean, Ellie and Martin Boyle were running across the defence, across the way most of the time. But, we created loads of good chances last night. We just can't finish. But basically, we're watching David Gray learning. We have to give him time. We can't go changing things. It's just, it would be nuts to get rid of David. It'd be absolutely crazy.
Ian, can I ask you about, so I got a message in from Dave Thompson. Dave sometimes comes on the phone and a message to say he couldn't make it, but wanted to flag something. So he said, Dave was at the game last night as well, and he's wanted to share an incident he saw. Yuan approached a guy during the game, calling him out for something he said. He totally switched off for the game for about 10 seconds. He said he was close to the guy, then Yuan didn't hear anything, but he's not saying that nothing was said. And then Yuan came over the game straight, after the game, came straight over to the guy, poking him in the chest the guy sort of apologised, but Yuan was giving him it tight. Did you see any of that? Do you know what happened?
Yeah, I mean, we're really, really close to it. I was quite near the front, and the block 7 were right beside the pitch, and to the end, we actually applauded. We got God knows why, but we stayed and applauded. I saw the poking incident, but I didn't see what was said. But I think it's, we're so close to the supporters, to the players, sorry, that Miller can hear people shout Miller, you're shite to him, And I don't know what he reacted to, but I think Ellie's just, I said 2 weeks ago that I didn't think he should be playing for us anymore because of his attitude. Right, as far as I'm concerned, he's not given anything like 100%. So he must have reacted to some criticism because we were very, very close to the players.
Fair enough. Charlie, you got your hand up there waiting patiently. You've had it up for a wee while, so sorry about that.
No, sorry. I was just wanting to touch on what's been mentioned about goals and putting chances away. So I was looking at the league table earlier, and we've scored the same amount of goals as Aberdeen have conceded, which is 9, which is mental. Which it just and I'm not comparing us to Aberdeen, but it just shows you how wasteful we've been in front of goal. And I actually think that losing Kieran Bowie's been a big loss for us, because I think he'd started really promisingly for the games I've watched on Hibs TV this year. I think losing him's been big, and obviously it's good that Miko got a goal on Sunday, and hopefully he can continue carrying that form on. And Gale scored and Boyle scored a couple. So attacking wise, we've had people scoring, but it's just we're just very toothless up front just now. And going back to Nectar's chance on Sunday, it's probably the least favourable player on the pitch you want it to fall to. Had that fallen to Yuan, Boyle, I think we're 2-0 up, and I think we're coasting to a derby win, and the pressure's off a wee bit. But obviously he misses it, Hearts score, and social media is in a frenzy again. But I think it's a worrying time. I agree with Stephen. I can't see us getting out of this mess. I genuinely have said it for weeks. I don't know when we're next winning a game, and I think we're worse off than what Livingston were last season at this stage. So the panic stations are setting in for me, I think. And David Gray, legend. To be honest, I can see him going this season. There's something about it that we at Christmas could be unreachable, 11th. So I think we need to start picking up points. Like I said though, I can't see us winning a game anytime soon.
Stephen, you got your hand up.
I just want to come back in on the guys that have said we need to give them time. Man United gave Ten Hag time, and here we are, end of October, and they've binned him, based on the fact that their season has went to shit so soon. I don't want to get rid of him, I really don't. But in football, there comes a time when you have to get rid of a manager. And right now, the trajectory that he's on, I think he's heading towards that. I honestly do. I just don't see the Elias.
Ten Hag wasn't appointed in July 2024.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. But there have been similar calls for him to go. Much like
I saw Pat Stanton get sacked. I saw as a manager. I saw John Blackley get sacked as a manager. Eddie Turnbull was still in there. I mean, when I went to my games as a 9-year-old, greats can get sacked. I mean, and I'm not coming on saying he's unsackable. I mean, legends of the club will always be legends of the club. I think that the hand that he has been dealt as the manager, if you would go back to what was his squad that he took to St Mirren? I mean, there was no Quan, there was no Triantis, there was no Gale. I mean, there's huge gaps in what was there. It's clear that Boyle and Newell were playing the start of the season injured. I mean, but for the operations that they've had to do, I would rather have a lucky general. I mean, I'd rather have somebody whose players weren't getting themselves sent off with 7 or 8 minutes to go. The fact that teams are just piling on top of us. I mean, so could we go down? No, and anybody who says that you're second bottom of the league with a game in hand, having been at Tannadice and watched us in that game up to when Joe Newell got sent off, we were coasting at 2-1. I mean, we almost created another chance just before Joe Newell got sent off. The ball just doesn't quite break for toilet in the edge of the area.
Collapsing us, though, John.
And where I'm coming from is that these things have to kick through. So we played Dundee United on Sunday. Does there come a point where they will pull the trigger? Yes, they will pull it before the January window if nothing turns around. If we win on Sunday, we could be sitting in 8th place.
It's true as well, yeah.
Above St Johnstone, above Dundee, above Hearts. And we haven't played 11 games.
John, listen.
Is it 10 or 11 points a good enough return? Absolutely not.
Yeah, but you're spot on because there's context and it's repeatedly missed. It's repeatedly missed with this sort of stuff. Like, it's so emotive, the end result, that people just miss it completely. It doesn't matter. We shouldn't be going to Tannadice and getting beat. Shouldn't be going to Dingwall and only drawing. There's context to all these. Same as last season is what there was as well. You've got to give this time. I honestly can't believe we're 10 league games in, and we're contemplating as some of us in the support going, get rid of the guy. Like, it's just mind blowing. Mind blowing.
And I think the hard thing, Stephen, as well, is that we don't know what's going on. When we're in our workplaces, and things are going a bit rubbish, we can tend to know what's going wrong and why things are going wrong and what's been done to try and fix them. We don't know what's going on. Ellie's a good case in point. The level of abuse the guy's taken over the last 6 months, is huge. It's clear that has broken his trust, of many of the support, to the point where if he finds himself facing up to fans last night, which isn't any good, but that shows how far his trust in the fans has fallen. He set up what should have been an easy chance for Dwight Gale on Sunday. Having done what Ellie does brilliantly, pick the ball up on the wing, drive inside, commit defenders, lays it off, and Gale can't keep control with his left foot to put it in with his right. That's our problem. And there's so many things that we don't know. What's happening at East Mains? Why do we have 2 players who came on Sunday who don't even make the bench on Wednesday? Why is Campbell dropping out? Why is Gray trying so hard with the squad? There's so many unfathomables. And you're right. The concern has to be there, but we're just never going to know. Rightly, these things that are happening at East Mains will stay at East Mains. And apologies, Neil, I don't know if I've used up your speaking time tonight.
You're all right. I'm going to bring Joe in next, and then we've got still here for Joe Tracy and Neil.
I'm going on mute.
No worries. Joe, what do you want to talk about?
I just think this team needs time, and I think some of the criticism is horrendous because they do need time. We were all giving Ekateta brickbats, and now we're all saying, hang on, this guy's not bad after all. I think what we do need is a creative midfield player. And as the third highest paid Hibs player, why is Dylan Levitt not getting a kick at the ball? And I disagree with what you had to say on extra time last night, Matty. I think Dylan Levitt deserves a chance. We're lacking that creative midfield player. I think give Levitt a chance at number 10. He's the third highest paid Hibs player, I understand. Hibs are paying him all that money for a reason. He must have done something in his past before he came to Easter Road. So I think A, the team needs time. B, I would put Levitt into the midfield because for all we've got these players we've got in midfield, none of them are creative midfield players. That's what we're desperately lacking.
The creativity is definitely an issue, Joe. I agree with you. I can't mind what I said about Dylan Levitt, to be fair, last night. My view on Levitt is I think he's a cracking player, but he doesn't impact games enough. That's my biggest gripe with Levitt is that he'll see a game pass him by. And I think
is he not impacting games because he's been playing too deep?
I think irrespective of where he plays, you want to see like I ken like John McGinn's a 1 in a million player for Hibs. It's not a fair comparison. Maybe like a better comparison is Scotty Allen. That Scott Allen would take the ball over and over and over again, and he would try the wonder pass over and over again, and 7 times he'd get it wrong, and he'd get a bit of like a groan for the crowd or whatever. He'd still want the ball the 8th time to make the pass, and then it'll come off. Scott Allen always looked like he wanted to impact the game, and with Levitt, I always think he's just there. Like he's in the game, he does it in wee flashes, but never enough. And I just think if he could add that bit to his game, would have a world beater on our hands. I think technically he's a terrific player. I love the way he hits the boys. He looks good on the ball. He's one of these players that you can tell is a good footballer because they're just comfortable with the ball. Absolutely got all those attributes. I just think it's that wee bit of grit and determination that he misses. But maybe you're right, Joe. Maybe the number 10's the answer.
And what I can't understand is, look at all the substitutes Gray's brought on in the last couple of games. He's never ever given Levitt 10 minutes even. Maybe he just doesn't like him or something. I don't know.
And I always think the manager watches him in training. So this is like if he was ripping up trees in training, the manager would put him in the team because managers need the good players on the pitch. That's kind of where I go there. Tracy, I'm going to bring in. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good, thank you. What have you got for us tonight?
Just listen, everybody. Obviously, loads of good points made. I just feel there's so much negativity around the whole club at the moment. And I don't think the club's helped themselves with that. For me, for the players, I think it's psychological. If anybody tells you you're not good enough, you're a loser, you're a shite bag, you're this, that, and the next thing, soon it just gets in your head.
Have you been listening to my conversations with the missus?
What was that?
Have you been listening to my conversations with the missus? That all sounds familiar.
But it does, and it's just like anybody in any walk of life, if you get told it often enough, you start to believe it, and it does have an effect on you. And I do think a lot of the problems are psychological. You think all the players that have been there through all the managers, you've got new ones coming in. You've got managers who like players, and then the next manager drops the players, but that's because we're churning out managers. We're going through them like nobody's business. So that's not good for anybody that's still in there. I feel the environment and the culture's not great at the club. And again, that's to do from top to bottom at the club, and that needs sorted. But whether or not Black Knights will have an influence on that, I don't know. Because they seem to have brought good people into the fold there, but whether or not they'll have that influence, I don't think certain people want to be told certain things or want to be told that they've done things wrong. So, and I don't think we learn from any mistakes. We talked about I think, was it somebody said about Ten Hag being sacked? Well, yeah, but again, that's another club. Okay, they're doing it on a grander scale than us, but it's a club for top to bottom. It's just since Fergie and Gill left, it's been a shambles. They're spending money like it's going out of fashion, but not spending it properly. I think there's a lot of similarities. As I say, they're just doing it on a grander scale. But I do think the lads, last night I thought, stuff it, I'm putting a positive post up on my story on Instagram, and I was like, clean sheet, didn't lose, above the Jambos. Because obviously I've got some players and their partners that follow me, and for them it must be hell at the moment if they do look on social media, because it's just negative. And if Ellie has gone over to a player, I didn't see any of that. Obviously I wasn't at the game, but hadn't heard about that. But if he has, then he's just got to that point where it's just all got too much. So who's looking out for him? Is anybody checking up on him? Are we making sure he's okay? Because that's a lot to take. He's been injured, so he's been out of the team. Then he's had bit parts in the team. And anything he seems to do is just doesn't seem to be good enough. Even on the commentary on Sunday, it was like, oh, he's lazy. And I was like, wow, if this is what the pundits are saying as well, he's just getting it from all angles. Everything's just negative. But as I say, I don't think the club's helped themselves one bit.
To pick up what you're saying about the cultures, obviously, like that's something that big on this kind of thing. Like workplace culture is massive. I think one of the benefits that we were sold with David Gray coming in was David Gray was going to be a guy to sort of drive that positive culture. So how big a job do you think he's got in his hands to turn that dial, Tracy, to get the culture that he wants?
I think he's got a massive job in his hands. I thought that's why he would probably be the best person, because he's been there. Staff obviously love him in there. He's got the respect. So that was a good start, rather than somebody new coming in and having to, meet staff, learn who they are and the rest of it. So it was kind of ready-made for him. But I just think there's still certain people there that maybe have to move on for our culture to change and become better and actually be the elite environment that everyone can thrive in. Because at the moment, that's not what's happening.
Mm-hmm. We've got Vince Robinson on the YouTube comment said Ewan was our bright spark last night when he went off. Our forward impetus was gone. And Ian Toggle said we're a quarter of the way through the season, second bottom time or something. We just don't have. McBee, what did you want to come on and talk about tonight?
Do you know what? I was going to come on and talk about the distinct lack of style of what we're seeing. So I think we're at the beginning of the season, David talked about, horses for courses and performances and everything like that, right? But we're very settled on a formation now. And I felt at the derby it was a total opportunity missed, to be really honest with you. Like, think, we've got to be perfect for 90 minutes the way we played there. Like, we can't afford to make a mistake because we're giving up so much of the ball, right? So it only takes one mistake, one lack of concentration, and that's ultimately what happened there. And then last night, we had a lot more of the ball without really sort of doing anything with it. So the question I was going to pose to the panel is, what and where do you see any type of style and game type of management that we can implement that turns us around? And I do think we're somewhat are turning it around because we're starting to get our what was it, Lee Johnson started to talk about your money on the park. So Boyle's back on the park, Ewan's back on the park, Hoylett, I'm not so sure that's the best position for him, but he seems to be effective as well. Miko, ultimately you'd want Bowie up there, but he's not available. So somewhat we are kind of turning that around, but it's not cohesive yet. So, what is it we need to do? Because that midfield too seems pretty solid and no solid, but so what I'm looking for. That's what he's going to go for, and I'm not so sure we've got that penetration where we're linking between midfield and attack. It's where it stood. So, considering what we've got, what options does anybody have in terms of how to go forward for here?
But Charlie, you got your hand up. You want to come in first to answer, and anybody else wants to jump in as well? Feel free.
I was more coming at it from the perspective of how, like, I don't think we've got a great deal of leaders on the park. I think obviously we've got our captain Joe Newell, and I don't see a lot of like leadership about Joe Newell. Like, he's the last person that should be getting sent off at all in the season, and obviously he gets sent off at United and we fall apart. I have a real sense that and it's been a problem I think for years that we've no got a leader on the park, and I can't mind the last leader we had on the park, probably Darren McGregor. Even the manager, David Gray, was a leader on the park, but we don't seem to have someone who can pick the game up by the scruff of the neck and get us back in it.
It was something that they talked about at the start of the season. I remember the chat about Martin Boyle taking a leadership role, Joe obviously getting the captain to say there was chat about Josh Campbell being like an older player now that they needed to go and set the example. So I think it's definitely something that they targeted, even if you think back to the conversations about the early recruitment, they were pointing to Ekpiteta having been captain for a while at Blackpool, I think it was. O'Hora was captain at his club. So there was a lot of chat about them bringing leadership in to the squad, but yeah, it's whether or not you see it manifested on the pitch is a different thing. Stephen, you your hand up. I'll come at you, and then you've got your hand up. I'll come at you next.
Cheers, Matty. Yeah, to answer Andrew's question, I think the derby is a good example of kind of trying to switch it up from what we've been used to all season, which is to try and be possession-based, slow build-up, patient. Sunday's game was the opposite. We had, 38% possession. We invited Hearts onto us, and Hearts, in all honesty, did very, very little until we shot ourselves in the foot. So I think looking at the squad selections this season, I think there's probably about 7 or 8 players that are almost guaranteed to start through really a lack of competition in places. Like, you're not going to bring on Smith and goals when He's been told he's been signed as a number 2. I think his track record is lower league, if even league football in England. So you've basically got a goalkeeper that has no competition. You've got 2 right backs that neither of them can really defend. I don't think we've got a backup left back now that Lewis has left. So you've already got players that you're having to play. So, and we've seen it, thinking in the Motherwell game specifically, Motherwell were quite happy to sit off us and just say, look, here's the ball, do with it as you want, try and break us down. And we've not been good enough. Sunday, in the flip side, we actually created a number of decent chances, but I don't want us to be sitting at home with, a third of possession. So to answer Andrew's question, I actually don't have an answer. I really, really don't. I just don't see how, with the players that he's got until January, how we can find a way that will consistently win more games than it will lose.
That's interesting. Hey, what about you?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Basically, last night was such a disappointment because we've been improving game on game. I really, obviously I go to all the games, so I got a proper picture of how we're doing, and we seem to be improving. I mean, the Rangers game, obviously, as I think John covered this earlier, but we've made stupid mistakes, and obviously at Ibrox you don't miss penalties and you don't miss open goals with a header. We should have won at Ibrox. We should have beaten Motherwell. We should have beaten United, and everyone agreed that we were the better team. So last night was the most disturbing, if you like, because of our lack of creativity. But I would argue that our defence is actually doing. I'm very, very pleased with our defence, and I can't remember who said it, but at the beginning of the year, everybody was saying that Marvin was rubbish, whereas Marvin is, to me, is playing very, very well indeed. So the weakness at the moment we've got is with Miller, because Jordan's playing brilliantly, Warren Horace playing well, and I would argue would be better being captain than Martin Boyle if Joe Neo's not there, and I would argue he'd probably make a better captain than Joe himself. But at the moment, only Miller's defending is the weak point in the defence. So I think our defence is actually in good shape, and really against the Hearts, I think the weakness was on Miller's side was because Boyle and Miller were going for the same player, because they obviously don't have a bloody clue what to do, how to play with each other. So I'm actually very pleased with the defence at the moment. I'm very pleased with the keeper. He was great last night. He came for every high ball and got it, and made a terrific save. So let's forget about the keeper. As far as the defence is concerned, as far as I'm concerned, they're as solid as we've had in some time. We've got talented players in midfield. I would give Levitt a chance because I happen to think we're missing creativity. But the main problem we have is finishing. And I would agree that if Kieran Bowie was available, then I think we'd be in better shape. But the main problem we have just now is finishing. We're creating chances and we're not finishing. And I can see why David Gray is getting frustrated. And what I don't want David Gray to do is to return to a defence-minded approach, which is what he's done a couple of times. A couple of his substitutions have been stupid, and hopefully he's learned from them. They've had a negative effect on the game at that point. So I'm actually, until last night, and I think it was probably the distance in our broken down bus, but till last night I was actually, seeing a gradual improvement, and I was okay. And I expect us to to keep up a good standard against United. I expect our defence to play just as well as they have been.
Can I come in, Matty?
Yeah, of course you can, Joe.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you. That's the most sensible summary of where we are at just now, and it's something positive. So thank you for that.
I should just say that Joe is actually my brother.
And a fiver down as well now. Maybe you asked the question. What's your take on it? Like, where do you think the style comes from?
So, I'm not sure we play the player's strengths. So, last night, for example, Ewan is a bit of maverick, right? So you've got to give him that opportunity to utilise his spontaneous, whatever the fucking word that is.
Spontaneity.
Right, that's the word, right?
There you go.
So we actually looked a little bit dangerous when he actually, had the ball at feet and was able to, pop it off, 1-2s it and everything. And I'm not sure we gave him that much of an opportunity to do that last night, especially, certainly not the week before as well, because we gave up so much of the ball. You look at Boyle, now you want to organise the play so that we can utilise Boyle's pace. So that means you've got to try and isolate fullbacks, so that we either drag them out of position so that he can go off on their shoulder, or we counter on him so quickly that, again, we can utilise his pace. And I just, Miko, he's our focal point, and I see him coming out between the box, I think, far too many times for my liking as well, without the wide players coming in to support. And Hoylett's been, a bit of a revelation, but again, I'm not sure where he's playing is his best position either, and we're getting as much as what we would have got him out of the wings. And then I don't disagree with the boys. The defence is coming on as a unit, right? But we definitely can't have any confidence that there's no an individual error in there, because that's been the pattern this season. And that's what's happened, at Hearts. There's 3 contact points where everybody involved in that defensive line has got to do better. Has to do better. The last point being that Miller should never be getting beat off a 17-year-old laddie to tuck that in the net. But as I say, there's 2 other points there. Honestly, Matty, I don't know. See, for me, I think for us right now, attack's probably our best form of defence. Keep ourselves away from being pressurised back there. Change the narrative so that we're not, as I say, everybody's looking, everybody's getting nervous, going, "Oh Christ, here we go." And more often than not, we're playing into that because we're conceding, and that's what the narrative says. What is it? We've lost 8 goals in the last 15 minutes of games. So I just think we're just going to be a wee bit more braver and going for it. But again, it comes back to the point I made earlier. He's hamstrung by recruitment. Not just recruitment in the summer, hamstrung by years of recruitment as well. And the club, the guys have been telling us that the squad's unbalanced. I mean, it must have been desperate at times. I didn't mean to have a go like at individuals and everything like that. But poor Harry McCurdy coming on last night, the greatest of respect. Like, he's not exactly got the body of work that instills confidence behind you to go, "Oh, he's gonna be a game changer here. He's gonna pop up with a goal." And that only changes by giving opportunities. I appreciate, but again, it sort of feeds into a larger narrative of, "Oh, here we go again," and changes mindsets of folks. Do you know?
That was as daft a substitution as any substitution of Harry McCurdy is.
Right, we're out of time, so let's just quickly kind of get a score prediction of everybody for Sunday. I can't even mind why we're playing on Sunday, no, Saturday. Didn't it seem
United Sunday.
Aye, but why is it Sunday instead of Saturday? Do you know?
The rugby.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Right. Rugby always, like, I get irrationally annoyed at rugby as it is, and then you find out your kickoff gets nudged out the way because it's just.
No, Hearts, it's because Hearts are in Europe.
What have they got to do with it?
That was a joke, sorry.
All right, so
in the cup semi-finals.
Oh, it's a cup semi-final weekend, is it?
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all right then. If it's for football, I don't mind so much. Right, Ian, what's the score going to be on Sunday?
2-0 again.
Brilliant. John?
3-1.
To the Hibs?
Absolutely.
Obviously, Jeff?
2-1 Hibs.
Jack, what's the score going to be?
2-1 Hibs.
Joe?
2-2.
Probably the most realistic one so far, right? We'll have that. Charlie?
2-1 Dundee United.
Oof. Okay, if that's more realistic. Right. Maybe and Daniel, get a score each.
You go.
1-0.
Oh, it's 1-0 Hibs or 1-0 Dundee United?
1-0 Hibs.
Yeah, I was going to go 1-0 Hibs as well, so.
Who's getting the goal?
Miko
getting the goal.
Right, Robson, I don't know if you're still there or no. What's the score going to be?
2-0 Dundee. Mad.
Dundee United.
Tracy?
I was going to go 2 each as well.
Right, and Stephen?
I can't predict somebody to beat us, so I'm going to say 2-1 Hibs because I don't think we're keeping our clean sheet. I can't see us keeping 2 clean sheets in a row, but I'll go 2-1 Hibs.
Fair dues. We've got Nick and Matt's football podcast. They said 3-0 Hibs on the chat. Ian Talkhouse said 2-0 United. So I think that's like the first time we've had us not taking the 3 points. So this might be our weekend where it happens for us and we get the 3 points.
I normally jinx them anyway, don't I?
I
I
know.
normally always jinx them when I give a prediction. So
I
I'm
think
playing it
we
safe.
all, I think we all jinx it, to be fair, Tracy.
Mm.
Right,
Matt-
thanks for.
Matty, can I just say, I mean, Stephen looks remarkably like Mickey Stewart to me.
Do you think?
I think he does. I think
I'm
he's sure it's
no.
not.
I was waiting for somebody to say that, and yeah,
You are Mikey Stewart.
several times. It's well, I've not tore Lewis Miller to shreds, so I guess I'm not Mikey Stewart. That'll be next week.
And can I just say as well, just before we finish, you know, we talk about the leaders on the park, but I think most of this year we could probably say we've not had leadership at the club either. So everything stems from the top. So
Absolutely.
I do think there's a theme.
But aye, there is, right. That's probably a good place to leave it, guys. Thanks to everybody for coming on. It's been a great discussion. Really enjoyed that one tonight. So thanks for giving up your time. Thanks for tuning in to watch us. We'll be back on Sunday with Long Bangers. In fact, we'll be back on Friday tomorrow with a preview show.